If you're watching the replay, you could just fast forward a few minutes and you'll be all set. Just make sure you read the disclaimers, because you got to read the disclaimers before you watch my show. And other than that, we've got a crazy show. I already gave y'all the lead in. I'm the guy that breaks news, okay? Back, was it 2013? I think it was the first time I made national news, because I was the one that figured out who was in Google Glass. Now, Google Glass never came out. It might at some point, right? The goggles and all that. That stock went from 3 to 20 because of the information I put out. By the time I was done, I was telling people to sell while Wall Street was telling people to buy. You got me? Then TSSI, most recently, MoviePass. I was credited as being the first person to talk about MoviePass, and I was credited as being the person that found the ticking time bomb, the proof that this thing was going to completely implode, sending these guys to jail. Ended up being in the movie. Now, TSSI, among others, right? I provided the first proof that they were in Elon Musk's XAI, sent the stock from 2 to 20 when I said sell, and it continued on to 30. I didn't subscribe to that. Now it's back under 20. What's going to be the bombshell that I provide today? And what does it mean for the stock? Should the stock go up? Should the stock go down? We're going to find out on today's episode of Stock Talk Live. Let me tune in to verify we got audio and video. Let me see what we got here. There we go. We got audio. We got video. We got followers. We got the live studio audience. We got the hit the like button. Yes, hit the like button. By the way, before we get started, I'm just going to let you know all the stories I told you are true. And the part I didn't tell you is the reason I am here today, a multi-millionaire making 7 figures a year in a penthouse in Miami Beach, is because of my mentor who, for free, just out of the goodness of his heart, taught me the cheat code behind Wall Street. Not the BS that colleges teach you, not the BS that CNBC gives you, not the BS that the 10,000 other bloggers out there try to send down your throat. No, the real deal, which I rarely hear from anybody else. Really, it's like 1% of people out there that are doing the real deal work that can lead you to what I've provided you with, which is no losing picks in, 15 months in my official portfolio. No losing picks at all. That's when you're doing real professional research, okay? And the only thing I ask, right, for me giving this show to you, 2 hours a week, it's me giving back because my mentor gave to me. What kind of a-hole would I be if I didn't? The only thing I ask is the thumbs up. There's no sponsorships. There's no advertisements. There's no nothing, okay? I don't have no subscriptions. I will never, in fact, in 2015, I swore off revenue. I don't make money off of anything anymore. Anything I do is from the goodness of my heart, and all I ask is for you to tell everybody out there that there is somebody like me doing this for you. Giving me the thumbs up is the starting point for that. All right, blah, 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 blah. You know what it is. It's Friday. It's Money Mark. It's Stock Talk Live. We got big information to share for y'all today. I'm not going to go through the same. Oh, you know what? I didn't even have the regular old stuff up here. That's cool. But I'm going to put this on the screen right now. Y'all can read it. I'm not going to read it to you. We've got a lot to... Bro, usually I have 1 sheet of paper. Today I got 2. Plus a whole full docket. Y'all know what it is when I put on the tabs. I got a ton of tabs. I got tons of sheets of paper. This is going to get crazy. I've given you enough time to read what's on your screen right now to cover my you-know-what, right? This is a farce show, a clown show. Everything I say is a goof, and I can do anything I want with my stocks. I'm a day trader, and according to the IRS, blah, blah, blah. End of story. Let's get out of here. We're not going to talk much about macro. There isn't much to talk about. But there is one major thing I want you to know about the current macro environment, and a lot of you know already. It's that... Let's go to the QQQ. Boom. All right. By the way, for you following for the first time, if you were following me for the first time, you need to read the instruction manual. Not for me, but for you. Okay? There are my credentials. So you know that I'm not full of you know what. 10,000 people out there are full of you know what. They got to give you 3 things to prove something to you. 1, their real name. 2, their credentials that show you that they've been a professional in the industry. There's 1 and 2 from me. And number 3, a real-time tracker of their performance so that you can see that their performance is not full of you know what. I'm trying not to trigger the algorithm today. I know I will at some point. I'm going to drop a bomb at some point. But so far, no. And then there's your proof right there. Since May 10th of last year, 15 months, no losing picks in my official portfolio, including multiple multi-baggers. Real name, real credentials, real-time tracking of the portfolio. You don't need all this. You can look at it yourself later. But what do we need? What do we need? Oh, here it is. On my YouTube channel, first video that will come up is this one right here, Making Millions with Mark. All right, watch that video. Go to my blog site, markohmstocks.com. Oh, I hate all this talk up front, but I'm sorry, guys. I got to give it to you because you're not going to understand everything if I don't give it to you. This is the first article that comes up at markohmstocks.wordpress.com. Those are the instruction manuals. By me telling you this now, I don't have to tell you anything else from here on in, because if you don't understand something that I give you on this show today, it's because it's in one of those 2 documents. The article or the YouTube video called Make Millions with Mark. All right, that's it. Macro. We are in greed territory, but not greatly so. Okay, and we got the Qs over here. Here's the thing that we got as a dilemma. Every single time the stock market gets to my yellow alert level, this red line, every time in history, look, going back in history, there on the SPY, the Dow going back to 2015, I mean 1915. You see this chart? This chart goes back to 1915, okay? Every time we've hit the red line, you've been able to buy stocks cheaper, all right? And that's where we're at right now. But here's the dilemma. For the first time since 1998, I'm here telling you that we might go into bubble territory. And just so you know what it looks like, that's what a bubble looks like. We are not in a bubble yet. We are on the verge of a bubble, but this is a bubble. This is not a bubble. This is real. This is legit. This is deserved. People on CNBC has to bring people on to, well, I'm a bear. Here's why the market should. Shut up. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're on CNBC right now because you're a nobody trying to get some press, some publicity that you need because you're a loser. You're not here to tell people the truth. You're here to tell people whatever CNBC needs you to tell them to keep the eyeballs on the screen so that they can feed you with advertising. It's a scam. Okay? Here's the truth. This is a bubble. Nothing else has been a bubble since then. But we are on the verge of hitting one. So, what do you do in an environment where at yellow alert and the market can tank, has always tanked off of those levels, even during that bubble? You see that? If you had sold here, you missed the bubble, but you also got to buy back cheaper. What do? You have to be picky. Be super picky. Don't be buying stocks. You're like, this is fairly valued, but it's going to go up 20% a year for the next. Shut up. That's not enough right now. We're after tens. If you've been watching my show, we go after tens. We're the only man on earth in the biggest bar on the planet. We're going home with a 10. Do not settle for less in your portfolio. That's my macro speech. Let's get into stocks. Because we might get a bubble or we might get a crash, right? And if we get a bubble, the greatest stocks are going to continue to rocket and you'll be happy you made money. And if we hit a crash, then even the best stocks will probably come down with the crash, but at least you'll know that you own a 10, a stock that shouldn't be going down, but is because the market's dragging it down, not because the value's not there. And that's the difference, that 99% of y'all do not know how to calculate the value of a stock versus the price. Everybody knows the price of a stock, but only a true multi-decade professional can get close to figuring out what is it really worth? That's the cheat code. If the stock's at 5 and I calculate it's worth 15, I'm buying. But if the stock's at 15 and I calculate it's worth 5, I'm shorting. How do you know which one it should be? Look at the chart. Shut up. A chart doesn't tell you what a stock is worth. That's why the day traders don't make 40% a year like I have since 1996, like Warren Buffett did for decades to become the richest man on earth, starting from nothing. The dude was a paper boy and became the richest man on earth. That's what I do. The same thing that he did. Okay? But this is on a little bit of steroids because we learned from him. Let's get into stocks. We don't need the 10-year, 2-year, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry about all that. Do we want to start boring? No, we don't want to start. We'll talk about that later. That's boring too. We want something a little exciting to start this off. Let's see. What do I want to talk about to start us off that's a little more exciting? We are not going to start by burying the lead. I'm not going to give you the bombshell right up front. I'm going to do that somewhere in the middle. If I see the attendance of this video drop, we're at 320. If people sign up, so I'll just come back later and forget it. That's when I'm going to give it. That's when I'll give the news. When you leave, that's when I'm going to give the news. All right. Here's a good one. AI. This is cool right here. We'll start with this. This is a nice warm up. Perplexity makes a long shot $34.5 billion offer from Chrome. No, don't laugh. Everybody was laughing right off the rip. What the F do you know about what Perplexity wants? What the F do you know about why Perplexity would waste their time? Last time I checked, it's not April 1st. Dude, these guys are dead ass serious. Oh, there goes the bomb. I knew I was going to do it at some point. They're serious. Okay? To an extent. They don't expect to get it. Chrome might be worth way more than that, by the way. So maybe they'd say, yeah, for $34.5 billion, we'll take it. They don't have $34.5 billion, but they would raise the money. Don't worry about it. And why? Here's why it's not funny. Here's why the idiots that laughed at this immediately are idiots. Because the browser is a strategic entry point for these AI apps. For decades, we've been using the browser. We've been going to Google, right? You don't go to a Google app to do an internet search. You go to Google in your browser, okay? So the browser is seen as a key entry point to AI. And whoever owns the browser can make their AI the default AI, the default AI for the browser. Have you not noticed that if you're in your browser and you do a search for something and it's a question, that sometimes an AI result comes up instead of links to other websites? There's a reason for that. Let me see here. Was SMCI's guidance good? Let's see. Just see? Look at this. It brought up some news. This isn't even an AI thing, but it kind of gave an idea. No, you sometimes get an AI result now. The browser is what enables that. The browser is critical. So no, Perplexity is not goofing around with this. They really want a browser. Now, what do we want to do with that? I've got a speculative idea for you with regard to this. Let's move this over here because I think what we're looking for is right there. Yes. All right. We'll zoom in on this a little bit. Boom. OPRA. Speculative. I'm not putting it in my spreadsheet. I'm here to give you all information. We're here to talk about AI. I was an internet analyst back in the late 90s for Wall Street firms. You feel me? Now I'm an AI analyst doing the same thing. I got to tell you about AI, even if it's not an official pick. I'll let you decide what you want to do. I'll let you decide if you want to follow the rules or not. But here's something that was encapsulates what I'd like to say about this. Okay? It's a signal, right? There's word on the street that they offered $1 billion for the Brave browser, which is a much smaller player than Opera. Opera only has a 1.5 billion enterprise value and is quite profitable, trading at 15 PE. Also growing. Seems like a no-brainer for someone to buy here. You get a 15 to 20% grower. with a 5% yield at a below market PE that has an asset that can be worth 2 to 5x to an AI company like Anthropic or OpenAI. Okay? So what does that mean? That means you've got a company that is at least fairly valued, but has a major cherry on top. The fact that they are strategically valuable to these AI players because Opera is one of the larger browsers out there. Okay? So, OPRA, I've got a small position here, right? I'm not putting big money behind anything. I knew the stock would probably go up when I told y'all about this, right? But I'm not going to load the boat just because. I follow my own rules. I make sure that my trading is what I would trade if I didn't have a show. Okay? So I put a small position here. If I were you, I would put a small position. To be honest, it's a fairly valued stock. It has come down recently, right? I can easily see this happening to the stock, right? Which is a 66% return. I could see them getting acquired for 2x. So you can make a 100% return. And the downside risk, probably what, maybe 20%? That's huge risk reward. Okay, so I've got a small position here, right? I didn't buy an extra knowing that the stock would go up. I don't do that, right? But for y'all, whatever you want to do with it, there you go, because this, I think, is a strategic asset for the AI players. All right, how about that for a nice little warm-up? Okay, now we can go to some of the more boring stuff, earnings announcements. I've also got all my notes here, and then we'll come back to something more exciting. We're going to go through the boring stuff quick. Geodrill, I told y'all they were going to put up a great quarter, and they put up a great quarter. What I can't tell you, Mark, what's the stock going to do when they announce a great quarter that you say they're going to? I don't know. I'm not God. Listen, anybody that tells you which way the stock's going to go is lying. There's only one person who knows, God, okay? I don't know where a stock's going to go. I don't know when a stock's going to go. I know how to buy stocks cheap and wait for them to not be cheap. That's how I got rich. That's why I'm richer than 99+% of all investors on the planet, okay? Simple as that. I'm not bragging. It's just the fact. I was taught this way by my mentor. He told me, you're an idiot. You're telling me where a stock's going to go. You don't know. I know where the stock's going to go. After a while, I started to learn, you know what? Most of the time, I don't know where the stock's going to go. Or part of the time, I don't. You don't want to be making bets. We want sure things. As close to sure things. Look, as close as I come to giving y'all sure things, I'm still wrong sometimes. So how is it? If I can eliminate all the risk and still lose money, why are you playing with things that are risky? All right? So anyways, bottom line, it was a great result. The stock pulled back off of the result. That sucks. Whatever. It's still within this channel. It's still operating great. It's still doing great from the time that I told y'all you should get in back here to here. We've been annualized at 67%. 67% annualized. Okay, and the fact that it's just come off, by the way, that was an all-time high. It hit an all-time high, so maybe it just sold the news, right? Buy the rumor, money marks on the money, let's buy the stock into the quarter, and then they sell the news and the stock just collapses because people are selling at any price. Stupid. Stupid, because this chart is still in play. They are operating on all cylinders. The stock should be up here at 5, not down here at 345. That's 50% upside from here for a very safe company that is still trading below the book value of its assets. That's all I got to say about that. So, business as usual. Vertra announced its second quarter. I've been telling y'all for a while, these guys are in a rough patch. They will remain in a rough patch for a little while longer, but we're coming closer. Every quarter gets us closer to the day where they're no longer in a rough patch, and it's getting really close now. Like, I'm starting to rebuild my position in Vertra. Okay, people say, Mark, why don't you have a 10% position in Vertra? Was it the green line? I told y'all, when you're on an advanced level, right? Listen, a lot of y'all, if you're on the basic level, if you're just learning about the 10-point rule, yes, you should have a 10% position in the stock because you don't know the advancements of figuring out, are they in a rough patch? How many cylinders are they operating on? You need to learn that. That's cool. You're not missing out on anything by just following the 10-point rule, because guess what? If you bought at the green line here, you're up. You're up 25%. An annualized 84%, 83%, just for following the rules. Never mind getting advanced with it, all right? But the fact of the matter is, if you are advanced, if you watched the video, if you read the article that I talked about at the beginning of the show, if not, go back, check it out. By the way, in the description of this video, bunch of free resources, check that out, right? But if you are on the advanced stage like I am, they are still in a rough patch. They are still not operating on all cylinders, but I will tell you that within a few months, that is going to materially change. I honestly believe this is going to be a $20 stock in the next couple of years, but it could drop back to $4 in the meantime. I'm not too worried about that, right? I'm not worried about losing a buck when it could just as easily go up to 8. That's $2 or $3 up from here. So I'm starting to build a position, but given that we're in yellow alert, given that they're still in a rough patch, I'm not backing up the truck, just dipping my toe in the water here from the advanced stage. The quarter was fine. They actually, for a company in a rough patch, they do a really good job of navigating a rough patch, all right? The thing you need to know about VTSI is this. This was a company doing about 8 million a quarter, 8 million, 8 million, 8 million, right? And then the new CEO comes in and they had a massive backlog. And it was always a big and growing backlog. And he looked at the backlog and he goes, why do we have so much backlog? Let's drop that down. Let's not make the customers wait so long for our product. And he fixed the operations and ate into the backlog. So all of a sudden, instead of 8, 8, 8, they're doing 10, 10, 10. Looks like the company's growing 25% a year. They're not going to grow 25% a year in a normal year. Right? So when they eat through the backlog, what happens? It goes back to 888. Now it looks like a company that's shrinking. They're not shrinking either. Not in reality. It was just smoke and mirrors. Okay? But it got worse because then you got Doge that comes in and freezes spending. Now all of a sudden it looks like they're doing 666. Number of the beast. Shrinking even worse. They're not. At least not from a demand perspective. The demand is now penting up. Right? There are people out there that want to buy the product but need the federal spending to loosen up, which is now happening. You got the big beautiful bill, you got Doge's done, blah, blah, blah. So now we're going to start seeing that pipeline unlock again. Why does it not happen immediately? Because these dudes don't have a contract on their desk saying, as soon as beautiful bill goes through, I'm going to sign your contract, VTSI. No. The sales cycle stops. Everybody goes their separate ways. And then once BBB comes through, it's, hey guys, remember us? Oh yeah. Come on in. Let's start over again. It's like you're dating a girl for like 3 months and then you got to go to the other side of the country for some kind of training or something for like 3 months. When you come back, hey, we were doing pretty good there for a few months. You want to go out on a new first date? You got to rekindle things. They got to rekindle things. It takes a little bit of time. But once they get doing on that, those 6, 6, 6 quarters are going to become like 10, 10, 10 quarters. Now it's not going to look like back then when they looked like they were growing 25% a year but really weren't. Now it's going to look like 6, 6, 6 to 10, 10, 10. It's going to look like they're growing 66% a year. That's why it's going to be lit when that happens, but it's not happening yet. So there's no need to chase the stock. There's no need to rush into the stock. Like, you guys, look at that. You see that pop right? You don't need to chase the stock. You could keep just buying it 525, 530, even 535, and don't chase it. Why would you pay so much for the stock when you could just slowly buy some? I know there's 400 of y'all watching this show right now, and you're all in competition for the shit. That's fine. That's fine. There could be a few of you that buy this stock every day, and it can still go nowhere. But if all y'all buy today, all of y'all are going to pay a premium. The rest of the world doesn't know what I just told y'all. There's only 300 of you here versus 300 million investors in the world. Calm down. Okay? Sometimes you got to rush in because I'm like the bombshell. When I give you the bombshell, I know you guys are going to want to rush into the stock one way or the other. You're going to want to buy it or short it or blah, blah, blah. Yes, because that's new bomb information. Everybody's going to know it, and it changes the value of the company. This right here doesn't change the value of the company. It's just a continuation of the story. Just giving you all a little bit of, knowledge here. All right, let's keep going as we work our way towards the bombshell. This right here, you can find this link right here just by hitting the replay, zooming in on your screen, right? This was a presentation done by AMPL. There's a chart on AMPL. These are the lines that I'm following right now. I could just as easily turn them into red and green lines. If you've watched the video and read the article, then you know what that means. If you don't, I'm sorry. Go and watch the video and read the article. These are white lines, not red and green. They might as well be red and green. I know the company. I love the company. It's one of my largest positions. It might be my largest position right now, aside from some ARBs that I've got, like CTLPP. I own a boatload of that. But that's just an ARB. It's not an investment, right? This is maybe my largest investment right now. Great presentation, great quarter. These guys are on all cylinders. I had a conference call with my other Wall Street experts, including the dude that I have the most respect for when it comes to enterprise software, and we're all on board. This is a winning company with a winning strategy. They are in a position to continue winning business. They're incorporating AI. They're basically taking websites and unleashing AI agents onto those sites to optimize the performance of those sites. I don't mean like how fast the web page loads. No. Optimizing the website so that when you go to a website like Shopify, that you are more likely to buy something and more likely to spend more money. Imagine an AI agent, which is basically free, making sure that you get more buyers buying more stuff on your website. Do you know what that's worth to a company like Shopify, to a company like Microsoft? Millions. And that's why Microsoft during the quarter signed a multi-year, multi-million-dollar contract with AMPL. Okay? Now, there was some concerns out there about their EPS and dilution and blah, blah. Shut up. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. There's some smart people out there, but you got to understand something. When you have a product that is best of breed, blowing away everybody else in the marketplace, and everybody, including Microsoft and Shopify, wants to buy it, you don't rake in the profits. That's dumb. What you do is you take the profits that you're raking in and you hire more salespeople. You hire as many salespeople as you can until you have the whole earth covered with salespeople, because this stuff sells itself. You want to grow your revenue as fast as possible at any cost, because once you've locked down all the customers, you can raise your prices. You can sell more products to them. You can go and buy little point solutions in the marketplace. This is what Oracle did. This is what Salesforce.com did. This is what ServiceNow does. That's what this company is. This is a mini CRM, a mini Oracle, a mini ServiceNow. Do you know what those stocks have done? Look at the performance of these stocks. This is what we call platforms, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Enterprise software platforms do this with their stocks. That's what enterprise software platforms do. SAP is another one. Okay? I didn't look at these charts before coming on here. I just knew that the long-term charts on these stocks would be up because they're platforms. Once you create a platform, you have a license to print money because your customers are locked into you. They're reliant on you. They need you for the fix. I need my H. And they're the drug dealer. And who's going to introduce you to a new drug? You live on my block, and it's my block. I'm your dealer. Nobody else is allowed in, or they're getting tapped. So the only way that you're getting your H is through me at whatever price I want to give it to you. And if I'm going to introduce you to X or some other drug, it's going to be me introducing it. at whatever price I want. And you're going to be like, oh my God, that X is crazy. Oh my God, that fentanyl is crazy. And one by one, I can just become a whole big drugstore because I have locked down the block. That's what Amplitude is doing. And anybody that got freaked out by the EPS is stupid. They don't understand enterprise software, which is basically how I made my first million, was by being an enterprise software analyst to all those bigwigs, those names you know, George Soros, Jim Cramer. Those firms owned by those people paid me for my picks in enterprise software because I was good at it. I'm trying to think of some humble way to say it. F humble. I was better than almost anybody else at it. And that's why I got paid. To the point where when I started my own company, I retired in 4 years. Because I was too rich to work anymore. Now I just do this 2 hours a week. And then I go to the beach, Miami Beach, spend time with my baby, my beautiful wife. Do you want that too? I was living in a basement. I had a worse life than you have right now, almost guaranteed. Unless you're living in a basement, paying $143 rent. And if you are, I don't know what you're doing with an iPhone and an internet connection. You have a better life than I had. But now I have a better life than you have. And you can come along for the ride. Just by not being dumb. This is a great pick. And an AI enabled. Total, this is an AI stock. Boom. Next. I need to speed this up. Another AI stock. Intellicheck. Great quarter. Relative to what we were expecting. I told people anything between 5 and 10% year-over-year growth would be great. That doesn't sound great. Shut up. You don't understand. Because this is a recurring revenue business. This is a business that's unfolding as we speak because AI is making their products more important. This is a company that was getting from Truist. You ever heard of them? Truist? Only one of the largest, if not the largest, regional banks in the country. Was paying them about $500,000 or $700,000 a year. They won't say, they can't say, but I triangulate things. I figure things out. It's what I do. $500,000 or $700,000 a year. They signed during the quarter a new multi-year agreement that over the course of the next 3 years is going to increase what they're paying these guys from about $500,000 to $1 million to $2 million to $3 million plus per year. Baked in, guaranteed. So why does it matter if their growth this quarter was 5%, 10%, or 0 for that matter? When we know that the growth rate is going to expand, accelerate because of what's happening with AI right now, making it easier for fraud to take place. All the other fraud solutions in the marketplace are starting to go, woo, 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 woo. They're falling apart because AI is going through a hot knife through butter through these template-based solutions. That's what these guys are competing against. This is not template-based. This is a one-of-kind, unique. They're the only ones that have access to the back-end DMV databases that can give you 100%. This is a real person with a real ID. Or no, this is BS ID. I don't know if it's an AI ID, but I know it's not a real ID. And that's all these guys need. That's what the banks need, the car companies need, the title, the insurance, all the age verification. You see the states all over the country, like half the country so far, has made it a law in just the last 12 months that you need to verify the identity of somebody who goes to your site. And that's why I told you, I broke the news that Facebook is looking to do business with these guys. And as soon as Facebook gets their act together, that's going to turn on. In fact, it did turn on during the quarter. If you listen to the call, Facebook started using Intellicheck during the quarter. Okay? My calculations, that's going to add another million. Look, they did 5 million. By the way, this was a record. Okay? A record 5 million. And Facebook can add another million alone to this every single quarter forever. That's what I'm talking about, a recurring revenue business. So what happened? Facebook turns it on. Things start flowing. The CEO of IDN looks at it and goes, holy crap, it's everything they promised us it would be. Okay? He said this on the call. It's not inside information. I just do this work. And then It broke. Why did it break? Something on Facebook's side, which is really funny because Facebook's really good at delivering images. That's kind of what they do. But for some reason, on the back end, there's a problem. They got to fix it. Once the problem's fixed, you know they're going to turn it back on. I mean, they went through all this trouble, not just IDN. Facebook went through all the trouble of setting this up and turned it on. Said, turn on the fire hose. And then the fire hose springs a leak. Damn, we need a new hose. Bring it in. And then they'll turn it on again, and we're going to have an extra $1 million in revenue one quarter that pops up on top of the banks, on top of the auto. Shoot, let me just show you. Boom. Here's my model. I was working on it all morning for you dumbasses. I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I'm just on one right now. Hey, how you like the money mark hat? MM. You feel me? Shoo. Even says money mark on the back. That's what I'm talking about. Here's so broke down by vertical: retail, banking, age verification, auto, title, and then other. You see the growth in these categories. The 10%, only 10%, is because one of their retail, look at this, retail was growing 7 million, 8 million. Oh, wait, why didn't it grow this year? Because one of their banking clients went bankrupt, and now they have a whole year that they have to compare their retail results this year to last year when they had this customer that went bankrupt. They're not going to have a customer go bankrupt every year. It's a black swan event. Boom, it was a bomb that hit them. It sucks, right? So it hurts the revenue a little bit in fiscal 24. It hits them a lot in fiscal 25, which is what we're in right now. But guess what? The year-over-year comp problem is now gone. It was on August 8th of last year that they announced the bankruptcy of that customer. It's now August 15th of this year, 1 year later. So the 20% year-over-year declines that they were showing in retail, they can start growing again because they continue to get new retail customers. So you're going to see retail start to grow again. 7.6, 8.6, 9. Because they were growing 1 million a year before. Why can't they grow 1 million a year in the future? Unless somebody goes bankrupt, that can happen. Or they can gain extra customers, and that can happen too. Good and bad, and it all works this way out in the wash. All right? Banking and lending. Look at this. You see this? 6 million. 7.8, going to 10, going to 13 because of Truist and others. They announced another deal on the call. I couldn't get confirmation before this show, but I asked, is that new? Did you break news or did you tell us about that before? They have not responded to us yet. So I don't know if maybe they told us something that they weren't supposed to because they didn't put a press release out yet, but they said that they got another banking customer that expanded their contract to mid-7 figures. Mid-7 figures is 5 million, right? That's mid-7 figures. That's 1.2 million per quarter. They only do 5 million per quarter. 1.2 million per quarter is a quarter, an extra 25% over what they're doing now. This thing is blowing up. And that doesn't even include the age verification taking off with all these laws across the states. It does not include Facebook. In this model, I don't include Facebook yet. All right? I'm just going to, I said, let me leave that out because I know what it's going to be. It's going to be $1 million a quarter once it starts, right? And that's a positive thing. But I'll leave it out in case something negative happens. And so it all works its way out in the wash. So what does this turn out to for numbers? Once you got all this, I did 2 different methods of figuring out a revenue forecast. It came out into the same ballpark, not the same. That would be weird, right? Same ballpark. I know their cost of goods sold. I know their expenses. I know their R&D expenditures. I know how to model that all out. I put it all together. And then what do we get? Of course, when you take revenue minus expenses, you get profits. Okay? And for next year, 2026, my estimate is 28 cents going to 50 cents. And a company doing 28 cents going to 50 cents ought to be a $15 stock by this time next year. I could do this analysis without looking at the stock price. In fact, many times I will. I'll do this analysis without looking at the stock price. I'll say, what do I think this company is worth? And then I'll go see what it's selling for in the market. And when I go and see what IDN is selling for in the market, I see it sitting here at $5. Guys, this stock does not belong at $5. What do I got here? 2028. Yeah, they could do $1 in 2027. How? Facebook. Facebook turns on the hose again. These guys will do $1 in 2027. If they do $1 in 2027, this stock will be $30 in about a year. As it stands, I think the stock goes to 15 in a year. Okay? But it could be closer to 30. Let's see, 1 year from today is right about here. $27 a share. You're paying less than 5 right now. This is a what are you waiting for? The VTSI, you can wait. This one, what do you, like, what? This stock should be higher now. AI. All right, next. We're getting closer to the TSSI bombshell. By the way, TGEN coming right up. See? See that right there? Oh, and TSSI is after that. Okay, so you can see on the tabs what I'm going to talk about in the day. Oh, you guys want a game thing? Don't, man. But first, TPCS. Man, I told y'all about this. See? Clear out trade, me. I told you I was undefeated on clear out trades. A clear out trade is a cheat code to making money. The problem for most of y'all is you don't get to do one. I didn't get to do one either until I was already a multimillionaire. I'm known. And because I'm known, when there's a large block of shares in a company that I like that goes up for sale, I get phone calls. People call me up and go, yo, there's this dude. He's retiring. He's got 300,000 shares. He's willing to sell for X price. Are you interested? When I say yes, I'm undefeated. I have never lost money on a clear out trade, including this right here. That was me. That was me who did this. You see this move right here, this crazy move? I told the story. I'm not going to tell it again, but this happened. I went in. I cleared out the shares. I bought every single share available on the phone. How many shares you got? I'm taking every one of them. And I took them. All right? Instantly, the stock goes up, and then it goes down. And like, well, Mark's going to lose money. He's not going to be undefeated. Shut up. Shut up. Next thing you know, I'm more than double my money. In what? 5 months. And all you have to do is listen. Because on my Friday show, that particular week, I come on and said, I did a clear out trade, and I'm undefeated on clear out trades. And all you have to do is buy the stock, close your eyes. Chances are you're going to make money. Because I do every single time. No offense. It's just easy. That's easy money. When there is a desperate seller on an undervalued stock, you buy it, because once you buy the shares, there's no more seller on an undervalued stock. So all that's left is for the undervalued stock to become fairly valued. Part of the reason that it becomes undervalued is because people hear about the seller and they sell the stock. There's a seller out there. I'm going to sell the stock. I do too. I don't blame you. There's somebody desperate to sell. I'm going to kick back. Get more desperate, bitch. Let's see how desperate you can get. And then I'm going to buy you out when you're as desperate. Like, it's going to get to a point where the deal is so juicy. You're desperate, but I'm desperate too. Because I'm desperate to buy the shares at that cheap price. Boom. Okay? We make big money. But now, let's talk about today. That was the past. This is the present. We have the stock has now pulled back off of its highs. Everybody almost doubled their money. Congrats, by the way. It's down 17% off of those highs. But in the meantime, the news keeps getting better. The only reason I'm talking about this stock again this week is that there was news this week. I'm not here to talk about my names. I'm not going to talk about every one of my... I'm not going to talk about Crescendo this week. There's nothing to talk about with Crescendo this week. It's still... Crescendo's the bomb. Crescendo's awesome. But I got nothing to talk about. I'll put the chart on the screen if you want me to. But I've got nothing new to tell you. That's why I hate the question. Don't dare ask me the question, Mark, what's new with... I'm giving you what's new with everything. Don't... If that question's in here, I'm going to F you up. I swear to God. And by the way, while we're at it, do not pimp your stocks on my show or I will delete you from my show. Do not troll me on my show or I will delete you from my show. It's my show. I don't give an F about a troll. I feel bad for trolls. They're idiots. They're losers. Mommy and daddy did not give them love they needed. So I feel sad. I feel sad because those people are going to go through life. They're going to die without having had love from a mother or father. And when I hold my baby and I give her that love and I say, I can't imagine this little girl not having this love I'm giving her. That's what a troll is. Somebody that didn't have that. It's sad. It's putting tears in my eyes right now. So F you. Get off of my show or I'm kicking you off. I don't care. Here we go. Let's get back to the show. TPCS, what's the news? Here's the news. They're getting more business from Boeing. Okay, I have to now up my forecast. This is a model that you will get from nobody else. Government documents. I went through 300 pages of government documents to see how many Virginia class subs they're going to order, how many Columbia, how many F-15s, how many CH-53Ks that the government wants every year for the next several years. That's easy enough. Anybody can do that. Cool. Go do it. Go. If you saw this document, bro, there's about 1,000 numbers on every page, every one of these 300 pages. Go do it. It's cool. I do it. Okay? But then what? Then you're going to know how many of each one of these things the government wants. Whoop-de-doo. It don't mean nothing unless you know how much money TPCS gets for each one. That's the hard work that I did. Years. It's taken me years to figure out how much money they're getting from each one of those products that the government's going to be buying over the next few years. Expected per unit revenue. Okay? And I got word this week that this number was low. It's not low anymore. I adjusted the forecast because they're going to get more from Boeing in the CH-53K. By the way, they're also going to get more on some of these things. I don't know how high these numbers are going to go, but as of today, this is where we're at. And look what happens to a company when you plug these numbers in, including this year's numbers. When I plug in this year's numbers for government's orders on these products, I came up with 34 million in revenue and a minus 29 cent earnings. Guess what they did? Right around this ballpark. It's not going to be exact, but it's pretty damn close. Now we got a company that went 31 million, 31 million, 34 million. Whoop-de-doo. Losses, losses, losses. This company sucks. That's what the average investor thinks when they see these numbers. But what do they not see? They do not see these numbers. Why? Because if I go to Yahoo, come on. I was trying to be smooth here. Yahoo, analyst estimates, TPCS. When you go to Yahoo and you look for the analyst estimates on TPCS, what do you get? Zero. Nothing. Blank. Why? Because nobody covers the company. That's why it's such an advantage for me to be me, because I look at these small caps. That's why small caps are the cheat code, because nobody smart has really looked at these names. And as a result, I get to make the numbers. Because guess what? I was trained to do it. When Morgan Stanley makes a report and does a forecast, I was taught the same thing they were taught. So I can make a model for any company. And if there's nobody else that makes the model, I'm the only one with the numbers. And here are the numbers. I got them going from these awful numbers to whoa, 30+% growth next year. Something closer to 50% growth the year after. And $1 of EPS on a stock trading at 6. Okay? Next. TGEN. I know y'all love this one. This is what you came for. Well, you guys really came for TPCS, but I know a lot of y'all came for TGEN. Mark, you've been saying you don't know about TGN. No, yes, of course. Because I got to do about 100 hours of work to know something. Listen, you know how many people out there look at the PE ratio? Let me see the story. They got a partnership with Vertiv. This is a home run. You idiot. You stupid. You think making money is that easy? A press release with Vertiv makes them a home run. If it was that easy, everybody would be a millionaire. Everybody would be making 7 figures a year. You'd be making 7 figures a year. So why aren't they? Because it's not that easy. It's that easy to get people excited. It's that easy to create FOMO. But to really make money on stocks, you have to do research. So I've been working on this name for a while now to figure out. I needed an unbiased. Listen, by the way, a lot of y'all say, Mark, will you look at this stock? Shut up. Bro, I'm a retired multimillionaire. I'm going to look at your stock for you? I'm looking at my stocks for me and sharing with you. That's what I do. Do I get leads from people like you? Yes, of course. In fact, that's part of what's made my job easier. But there is something I need from you. Do not give me a pick. Do not give me a lead unless you can meet one of these two criteria. One, you were a stock analyst on Wall Street, an equity analyst, not a broker. I'm sorry, brokers. You don't qualify. You don't. You have to be an equity analyst or a portfolio manager on Wall Street. Or two, you can provide me with unbiased, independent, write this down, unbiased, by the way, if you don't have a pen and a notebook when you're listening to somebody that can make you millions, you are an idiot. I say this every week, pen and notebook. This is the greatest investment you can make. $2 can make you a millionaire. Almost nothing else will do that for you. Anyways, so I don't even know where I was. See, I got all hyped up. Tecogen. Let's get back to the thing here. I'm doing research on Tecogen, right? Oh yeah, unbiased, independent, third-party industry expert. Somebody that's been in the industry for decades, who knows the industry inside out. In the case of Tecogen, we finally got that last week. I couldn't do anything. It was the last week or the week before. I couldn't do anything before that. Because before that, who in this audience is an expert on chillers? Do you know the difference between a good chiller and a bad chiller? By the way, I do have some people who do understand this market and hit me up privately. That's part of the reason I do this. 10,000 followers worldwide happens to be one person out there that knows what a good chiller is and hit me up. Okay? On top of the news that leaked on the internet about an independent, third-party industry expert, multiple decades of experience building data centers and the cooling technology that goes into those data centers. And he said that Tecogen had gotten their first deal and that they were going to get more. How does he know? Because he's a consultant to these data center builds. They go to him. These data center companies go to guys like him and says, we're going to build a data center. Help us not F up. So he knows exactly what's going on. That's what we want. Okay? So we get that information on Tecogen, that they're the real deal. They've got real technology. Now we need to dig into what does that mean. They got a partnership with Vertiv. They got a product that's needed in data centers. Is it all data centers or does it have to be a certain number of megawatts? How many dollars are they going to get for a 50 megawatt data center or what have you? We have to figure out. We got to find a way to calculate how much money these guys can make. And I spent hours and I coordinated with one of dude is in Hungary, okay? Smart dude in Hungary happens to be the one that I collaborated with to look into this, figure it out, and boom. Right? What we figure out is that they've got great stuff. They got some patents. The margins, not great margin business. There's always pluses and minuses. They got this in relationship with Vertiv. They've got technology that people want. Not everybody, by the way. Okay? And here's the problem. There's a massive, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. The information that I have that I found via AI to go along with all of this. Right? Here we go. $2 billion total available market. Okay? Based on what we see out there, there's going to be about $2 billion spent on technology to keep these facilities cool. Makes sense because there's tens of billions of dollars being spent on these facilities. Now, if Tecogen was the only company on the entire earth that can make a facility cool, they'd get that whole $2 billion. They're not. And they won't. Because not every facility needs it. They're not the only ones that provide it. And Vertiv being their strategic partner, Vertiv only gets 25% market share. That's great, by the way. 25% market. We can pull up the Vertiv chart. Okay. Remember when I told y'all this was a short, and then I told you it wasn't? I told you it was a short around here, and then I said it's not here. This is a great company, highly valued here. I wouldn't own it here myself, by the way. Okay. It should work. It should work. It should be a good investment for y'all. But at these levels, I'd rather see a pullback. Let's wait for a correction in the market. If you can get the stock closer to 100, that's better. But still, it's a huge company. It's not low-hanging fruit. I don't see this tripling in a year. Most of the companies I give you have a legit shot at tripling in a year. All right? We want that legit shot because things can always go wrong. If I'm going to risk losing half my money, I want the opportunity to triple my money. I don't want to coin flip. I make 50% if it comes up heads and I lose 50% if it comes up tails. That's how you just like tread water. You don't become a millionaire that way. Now, as far as Tecogen goes, once I ran all these numbers, I'm not going to bore you any further with my process, but just suffice it to say that Tecogen is going to win some percentage of the deals that Vertiv wins. And when I run those numbers in terms of what's a good, that's called a tie ratio. These are the numbers I come up with. Now, don't go like running off and making a stock decision based on this because I got to explain this to you a little bit. But I will bury the lead. And when I bury the lead, by the way, it's broken out. It's automatic. We've got products, services, all this stuff automatically updates. If I change this number will change. Watch. If I turn this to 100, see that other number changed, right? And then all the numbers change behind it. So this is important. And here's why. Because this is my baseline optimistic scenario. This is what I think they can do. Okay? It's not, I wouldn't bet on them doing it, but this is what I think they can do. Reasonably. We're looking at 42 cents next year, which by the way is kind of whoop-de-doo because you're already paying $8.60, which means you're paying 20 times next year's potential earnings. This is just potential, right? This is like what I think they can do if things go right. Not everything has to go right, but they got to do well. It's fair. It's good. No, I think that's really good because the following year I got them doing 63. So a company that is going from 42 to 63, that's great. You know, the problem with this is that it's not mostly a recurring revenue business. Every year they're starting from zero. They got to sell new chillers to make this revenue grow. The services piece is repetitive. Whatever they sell, whatever chillers they sell, they're going to sell a maintenance contract. So they go in, they'll fix the chillers and all that, and this number increases as well. So that's cool, they get that, but that's a relatively small piece of their business. So they got to build this up, right? But we got so that changes the multiple that you pay. When you got an Amplitude, you pay a much higher multiple on their future earnings because it's all repetitive. This one is only partially repetitive. This isn't class, we'll keep going. And then I got them doing $1 in 2028. A company growing like this, and doing $1 in 2028 is going to be at least a $20 stock. By the end of 27, we're near the end of 25, which means I honestly think you buy the stock today at $8.50, you're going to more than double your money over the next 2 years. As long as things go pretty well for them. But wait, here's where it gets exciting, right? I'm not going to make this an official pick. I'm going to tell you that right now. But for those of you out there that are wondering, well, what if things go really well for them? That's where it got exciting because when I finished this model, I said, okay, now let me make sure the model works. Let me change the numbers around and see if everything, all the math changes with it. And here's the thing. There is a scenario where they could easily do the 100 million in 27, which means they would do closer to $1.50, okay, in 27. They wouldn't be ramping the expenses as fast. You see all that stuff, so the more of that revenue would drop to the bottom line than it would in 28 because they'll continue to grow, they'll continue to ramp. If they get a ton of orders, everybody's going to be working extra. They're going to be able to do this with less expenses because they won't have time to ramp it up, okay, as quickly. 2028, there's a legit shot that they could do 200 million very easily. Okay, not very easily, but it's like there's a legit chance they can do this. It's not like I'm dreaming, like, it's like they don't need magic for that to happen. Now watch this number down here at the bottom, this $1 number. Watch what happens if you double the revenue. Well, Mark, the dollar will go to $2. Shut up. That's not how it works. When you double revenue, you don't double EPS automatically. There's something called operating leverage. Look it up. Because when I double this revenue from, in fact, I'll really double it from 105 to 210. Watch what happens to this dollar number. It doesn't double. It more than triples. It almost quadruples. So if this happens, where we get a $200 million product number in 2028, which is entirely possible, you're going to get upwards of $4 of EPS from this company. And if you get $4 of EPS, the company's going to be selling for like $80. That's the cherry on top. Do not go saying, Money Mark said this stock's going to be $80. I'm not. But I'm saying there's the chance that happens. So I have a small position in this company, not because I love the valuation here. I don't love it. I don't feel like I'm definitely going to triple my money over the next year in this stock, because you see the numbers. I can see I'm expecting to double my money over the next 2 years in what I've purchased, which I don't really love, but I do love it because there is a free call option that comes with it. So I get to double my money over the next 2 years, probably. But if the lottery hits, and it's not a crazy lottery, like let's say maybe a 1 in 10 shot hits, this is going to be a multi-bagger. Okay? Now, all that from a dude that 2 weeks ago would have told you, stay away from Tecogen because we don't have enough information to make a decision, to build a model, to figure out what this company should be worth. But once that information comes in, now I can share it with you and tell you this is what it is. Okay? By the way, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. I would prefer if you put the question mark at the beginning of the question. I find that it's easy. In fact, put 3 of them. It makes it easier for me to find the questions. I don't want to miss the questions. It happens every week. I love the comments. Put the comments. That's what you like. I'm doing this for you for free, right? No subscriptions, no advertisements, none of that stuff, right? This is just me giving back to society. All I'm asking is for you to spread the word. And you can do that by giving me the thumbs up. You can do that by giving me a comment because that hits the algorithm. You can do that by telling other people, right? And obviously asking me questions helps too because we get that dialogue. So go ahead and do that. So there you go on Tecogen. Now, what does that mean for the chart? Well, you see no lines on this chart as of yet. One thing I will tell you is that you cannot, my poor baby's crying in the background. You cannot just draw these lines. Why? Here's why. Very simple. This looks legit, right? That looks good. I can make lines on a chart. Blah, blah, blah. Shut up. That's not how it works. Because if you draw these lines on a chart, right? Here's the first thing and the major thing that everybody misses when they draw lines on a chart. What is the slope of the chart? Half of y'all don't even know what that means. What it means is if this stock, you see this channel, this is a channel, 2 parallel lines, and this is a channel. So you expect the stock to go up in this channel. But what if God came from heaven and said, you know what? I'm going to buy or sell this stock every single day in a certain quantity, kind of like the Fed printing money, so that the stock goes in an exact straight line down the middle of this channel. If he did that, how much would the stock go up per year? That's the slope of the channel. And the slope of this channel, you'll look at this box right here that just popped up. You see annualized, the second to last line in this box. It says 2,000. What I'm going to tell you is a company has to grow for multiple years at a rate commensurate with what that annualized says. There's no company on the planet Earth that can grow 2,000% per year for multiple years. I don't think any company could even do it for 2 years. Maybe for 1, but not 2 years in a row, much less multiple years in a row. right? So when you see like Amplitude, or let me see, CXDO, that's a good one, right? And you see the lines that I've drawn, the slope of the line, you see that? What came up under annualized, the second to last line of the box? 11.5. This company only needs to grow 11.5% per year for years into the future to justify this chart the way it's drawn today. That's easy for this company. I might have to change the slope of this chart higher to make this work. With Tecogen, it doesn't, because there's no way this company can justify these lines. What might be more likely, I can do this live for you real quick, is if I see the potential for this, let's delete that. This is how I do this. Watch how I do this. If I think the stock can double over the next couple of years, which means it'd be up about 40% this time next year, which is right here. So let's see. We're at 860 plus 40%. What's 860 times 40%? That's about 13 bucks, let's say. Good enough, right? Around this time next year, that puts them here, right? Now I take this and I'm going to draw a line from here on back to the highs, right? Create a parallel line, maybe right about there, because they're not going to go back to what they were. Boom. Okay, and now you have my initial long-term risk-reward lines. I know they look flat, but they're not flat, because when you put this here, what do you get? Oh, nope, my bad. I got the wrong annualized. I'll fix that real quick. Real quick. See, and I do this. I double-check this work. Delete. I'm going to give you a real risk-reward line right now. From this point, actually, I'll do it from this point because I think that's fair. No, from this point. It has to be, because it has to go to 13. This has to be 40%, too high. Flatten it out more. Flatten it out more. Actually, you know what? Because we got the long-term growth rate. It's going to be something closer to 15%, so we got to flatten that out even more. Boom. Now I'm boring y'all. That's pretty much it right there. Boom, boom. But this deserves to be higher because we got to get this stock to 13 this time next year. Oh, actually, which works. Okay, so I had it right the first time. Boom. That's what it looks like. There's my risk-reward chart for Tecogen. The thing that you got to keep in mind, that's my initial risk-reward chart for Tecogen. Okay? Here's the thing you got to keep in mind. If that upside scenario plays out, this could keep breaking up this way. Okay, the stock could stay in this channel if these deals drop. So keep an eye out. All right, and I'm going to try to release some information that'll tell you that when they sign a certain megawatt data center, how much revenue that's going to generate from them. And then we can go back to this model and adjust the model based on how many dollars they're going to get from the data center that they just signed up. All right, we'll do that in the future, but I just wanted to give you this initial in the present so you know what kind of work I do. I'm not just some pretty face with a nice hat and a chain. All right. But I am a pretty face. That's Tecogen. Put your questions in the queue. TSSI. Not yet. Not yet. Let's not do TSSI. Let's get through the notes first and save TSSI a little bit longer. I know some of y'all hate me right now for that, but sorry. It's my show. Quick notes off the page. We'll go through this real quick. NVTS. Navitas. I'll put the... We're not going to talk long about this. There's your chart. No lines on it. Here's the news. TSMC has gotten out of the GAN business. GAN. That's the business that Navitas is in. So TSMC will no longer be making the GAN chips for Navitas. Navitas now has to rely on power chip, not TSMC, PSMC for it. And guess what? Relative to TSMC, PSMC sucks. That's going to cause problems. Yields are going to suffer. This might be good for air because air helps with yields. Okay, so this is positive news for air, potentially. All right, we got to worry about whether they can sell effectively into China or wherever power chip is and all that. Geographies, that's something that we got to consider. We'll talk about that maybe next week. All right, but in the meantime, this is good news for air. Not good news for Navitas, especially since NVIDIA has signed a company called Intellicheck. And when I did my market research on Intellicheck, it turns out that Intellicheck is doing a better job of developing these GAN chips than Navitas has. So that does not mean I'm bearish on Navitas as a stock. It just means I'm less bullish. They're still the real deal. I got an independent third-party industry expert to validate their technology as being one of the best in the industry. It just so happens that there's somebody a little bit better. And I like best, not just good. This might be an 8. I want a 10. Intellicheck is not public in the US, by the way, so you can't deal with that. All right, so that takes care of that. Intermap, ITMSF. Announced earnings. You see the stock flat today. That's probably the right response. There's your risk reward chart. This line is not colored in yet, so you know what that means, but it's bright white, so you know that that's one step away from actually being colored in. If you don't know what that means, go read my article, my instruction manual, which is here. Go watch my video, which is here. It's 1 whole hour of your life to learn how to become a millionaire. I won't say it again. Yes, I will. Intermap, here's your risk reward chart for them. They announced earnings. The earnings sucked. But so what? Doesn't matter. Because this quarter's earnings have nothing to do with the future, and the future is what a company's value is based on. They didn't have a crappy quarter because they misexecuted. No, they had a crappy quarter because the business that they have lined up for the future wasn't for this quarter. I don't know if there were any analyst estimates out there. So when you look at the numbers, you say, that looks crappy. But was it crappy or was it just planned? This is just what it was going to be. Okay? But they upheld guidance for the year. Do you know what that means? That means that the next 2 quarters are going to be off the chain. Off the chain. Because when you start a year with 2 slow quarters and you have such a massive guidance number that they put out there, let me see if I can get, what is ITMSF's guidance for the year? Let's see if this will work. Oh, see? That's AI. See that? That's AI right there. See? Instead of getting a link down here, I get AI results. So, and guess what? Who do you think gave me that AI result? Gemini. Who owns Gemini? Google. Whose browser am I in? Google's. So you see how the browser is important? Because if I wasn't using Google's, if I was using Microsoft's browser, it would be Microsoft's AI answering this question. So now Google is getting all my information, what I'm interested in, blah, 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 that helps them advertise to me, helps them get me used to Gemini, to charge me for Gemini, etc. Anyhow, revenue expected to be between 30 and 35 million. Okay? If we go in, Hicker, sign in, and look at MSF, detailed financials, quarterly, they'll come up in a minute. You're going to see what they did for the first 2 quarters of the year. And now, that means that whatever they did for the first half, they got to do X for the second half to get to that 30 or 35 million. Now watch what we get with that. Boom, zoom in. They did 4.6 in Q1. Jot that down. 4.26. 4.26 in Q1. ITMSF quarter. Second quarter was 3 million on the dot. That's 7.26 for the first half. That means to get to 30 million for the second half, which is the low end of their guidance, they have to do 22.74. Yes, I do that off the top of my head for the second half of the year. That means they got to do a minimum of 11, on average, minimum of 11.37 million per quarter for the last 2 quarters of this year. Now, why did I get rid of, oh, good. Here we go. Watch this. Get rid of this. I want to try. There, boom. Now, if they do $11 million in Q3 and $11 million in Q4, look what's going to happen. The $5 million that they did in September is going to double. If they do $11 million next quarter, They got to average 11 million for the next 2 quarters to make their low end of their guidance. At the high end of guidance, they got to do 13.5 million per quarter. This number is going to double. They're going to report record revenue. So this is what the press release looked like. Intermap announces record revenue up over 100% year over year. Guidance upheld. Next quarter is going to be up another nearly 100%. Like they could do 10 million this quarter. They could do 15 million this quarter. That's 25 plus the 7 that they just did, right? That gets them to 32. That's the midpoint of guidance. At the midpoint of guidance, they can double their revenue for each of the next 2 quarters year over year and have it be a record quarter each of the next 2 quarters. That's why the stock is not down today, because some people have actually learned something with their pens and notebooks, watching Money Mark, figuring out what's going on, all right? At what time is TSSI? Guy, it's going to be at whatever time I say, bro. It's coming up. Don't worry about it. I don't want you to go away and come back. It's really what it comes down to. You got to listen to the rest of this. All right, so that's ITMSF. By the way, Indonesia is going through. It's as big as I expected it to be. Doge was slowing them down. The big, beautiful bill now is going to speed things up. So they got a lot of ways to win at this point. So the stock has treaded water for a while. Like we got up to, I mean, I gave it to you guys way down here. We got, I don't need to brag, but 443% return so far on Intermap. Okay. We got up to $2 and flatlined for the last, 6 months. The stock has gone nowhere. That's called consolidation. But this consolidation pattern is like running out because we got the 200-day moving average coming up. And at some point, the stock is going to meet the 200-day moving average and can't hold back any further. Boom, right around there, the stock can blow up and go straight to here. And then we see a stock that's a 2 go to 5. All right, so that's Intermap. What else we got? SMCI, FSMCI. I got nothing great. We can save time on SMCI, so I don't mean to tease you on that, except that they've got 4 customers, large customers, 3 that are 11% each, and 1 is 21%. All right, and that feeds into what I'm going to talk about with TSSI coming up real soon. We talked about TPCS. By the way, I just threw out my first sheet of paper, so we're already through that. And half of this sheet of paper is TSSI. And in fact, this is as IDN. We talked about IDN. We talked about Facebook. We talked about this. Oh, by the way, one more thing on IDN. Very important. Put it in your notebook. They're going to file an S3, a shelf registration. Some dummies are going to flip out when that happens. Take advantage of those idiots. Okay? This is just a renewal of their old S3 that expired. Usually you'll renew the old S3 before or at the same time as it expires, at the time that it expires. That didn't happen this time. So to some people, it's going to look like, oh, they're filing a shelf. They're going to raise money. No. Dummy. Stupid. They like having a shelf out there. They've had a shelf out there for the last 3 years. It expired. They're going to renew it. Nothing to see here. Put it in your notebook because when the news drops, you can tell the idiot that panics and tells, oh, S3. You say, it's just a renewal. It's just a renewal. It's meaningless. All right? So that's it on IDN. And let me see. I only got 2 things left, and one of them's TSSI. I only have 2 things left, and one of them is TSSI. That's done. That's done. That's done. That's Dell, so that has to do with TSSI. You didn't get to see what that said. So let's finish off, and we're going to get into TSSI. In fact, yeah, TSSI is going to be last. Sorry. And then we'll go to Q&A. We'll talk about QSSI and the TSSI and the Q&A. GPRF. I'm sorry, GKPRF. GKPRF, Gatekeeper Systems. Okay? For those of you in Canada, GSI on the Venture Exchange. There's your risk-reward chart. for Gatekeeper. They've been doing great, winning deals. I've been telling you about it for quite some time now. Okay. Let's see. Joe Gargano. I see this TSSI to the moon. Don't do that. Don't do that on my show. This is a professional show. I'm cool. It's cool. It's cool. I got no problem with you, but I'm just letting you know, right? I got somebody else in here. Like, this is a professional show. Go do this on the other BS shows that are out there, okay? We don't need that in the chat. Although it does help with my ratings, so that's cool. But I just want to let y'all know we don't do that here, right? No matter what the news is, I'm not going to say to the moon. F that. We're here to be professionals, right? If you're not making 7 figures a year, part of it's because of your to the moon attitude. Stupid. Gatekeeper. I learned more about the FRA initiative, okay? That is the Federal Railroad Administration. There is an edict out there that by around this time in 2027, so just 2 years, every rail car has to have cameras on it. And Gatekeeper just won New York to put their cameras on the rail cars. That gives them the pole position to win more and more of these deals. And from what I hear and what I've gathered, there are deals out there. There's at least 2 deals out there that are bigger than the one that they just won. I'm talking 80 million, 100 million, many 8-figure deals out there, okay? Now they got to win those deals, okay? So we'll hear about it when we hear about it. In the meantime, they're going to have a tough comp coming up for this quarter. Okay, so that's the only thing I would caution you about from a timing perspective. And I'm not saying to sell your Gatekeeper. I'm just warning you so that you know what to expect, because the stock could keep going up. And if it does, you may not get a chance to get it back, because from here to here is a triple. If the stock goes from 1 to 150 and never comes back to 1, you just missed 50% that you'll never get back. And then if you don't buy it at $1.50, you don't chase the stock, then you're going to miss the ride to $3 or beyond. Okay? But I got to keep it $1 all the time. Got to tell you the truth. This year, this fiscal year, they got to go against this 11 million number. That was a great big, hide the chart. This 11 million number that they put up here, can they do it? Yes. It's just going to be a tougher number for them to put up because of the book of business they have this year. Right? So that introduces a little bit of risk in terms of what the August number is going to look like. Right? But once that's done, based on the business that's coming in, that New York contract, most of which is going to be done next year, next fiscal year, by the way, the fiscal year ends in August. Okay? So this is the end of their fiscal year. This fiscal year is going to end at the end of this month. They're going to report their numbers. I don't know if it's going to be higher than 11.6. I think that's a bit of a risky number because, as you can see, that's the biggest number on the screen. The biggest quarter they had was 1 year ago this quarter. And they got a comp off of that quarter. Whatever they say, they're going to say, we did 15 million versus 11.6. Or we did 10 million versus 11.6. And 10 million would be the biggest number on this screen, which would give them a positive comp, right? If they announce 10 million versus 5.9, that's 66% growth. But if they do 10 million against this 11.6, it's a decline. It's a negative revenue number that might freak people out a little bit. Might. Okay? Just be aware of it. I'm not selling my Gatekeeper shares because of might. I might be buying Gatekeeper shares because of what can and should be after what might happen next quarter, which is they're probably going to put up a year that's going to be in excess of 50% growth, because they're going to get like 20 million, and actually in Canadian dollars it's a $30 million deal. They probably get at least 20 million from New York alone next year. And this is a company that is only going to do annual. They're only going to do like 35 million this year. Next year, they probably do 55 because of New York. It's going to be a massive year next year, but next year doesn't start until after they report Q4 earnings And when's that going to happen? I don't know off the top of my head. You can go look at, see when Gatekeeper, and then we'll talk about TSSI, fourth quarter. They announced the preliminary, let's see, fiscal fourth quarter. When did they do this? They reported fourth quarter last year on December 20th. So between now and December 20th, that's when we got to wait and see how Q4 turns out. After December 20th, it's completely lit. It could still be lit before December 20th, but after December 20th, it's definitely lit. All right? I'm holding my shares because I'm afraid of it going up because of what's coming in the future, not in fourth quarter, which I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. All right, here we go. TSSI, finally. Let's see. Let me just put this down here. I know this show is definitely going overtime because I like to go to Q&A by 3 o'clock. We're at 3:30 already. But that's the way it happens sometimes. All right, TSSI. This was the news this week. Everybody knows this. It's just so I got something to start off of. For those of you who don't know, most of you already do. I'm the one that broke the news last year. Let's put the chart up, in fact. Right? I'm the one that broke the news. And by the way, I got to give props to Geo Investing, Maj Sweden. He's the first person that introduced me to the company. But I was the one that proved that they were building Elon Musk's Colossus. And when I found that proof, I came here and I told you on this very show, you have to buy this stock. And I gave you these risk reward lines. I told you this stock has no business being at $3. At the very least, in a rough patch, the stock's at least 4. The stock went to 20. The top of my risk reward lines. The risk reward rule said to sell. That worked out great because, I just moved the risk reward lines because the stock pulled back to 6 or 5. Okay? Big move from 2 to 20 to 5. Right off the bat, we're all set, right? Now, the stock is near the risk reward low, so you want to start buying some shares as it gets lower in the channel, which I was buying, selling puts, things like that. The stock starts moving up. I have information I give you on the show every week. It looked like they were going to have some great quarters coming up. I made a little mistake somewhere along the way here. That was cool because I was going on vacation. That happens, right? Sometimes I just back away. Backing away is not a mistake. Backing away is never a mistake. Going on the sidelines. I didn't say I was bearish. I said I'm going to the sidelines. That happened. I missed out on some gains. Big deal. A little gap here, right? Then I said it's lights out. It's lights out from here until it gets to the risk reward high. In fact, I know where the risk reward line belongs. It's right there because of this. And it got there and I said, that's it. I can no longer support this valuation. Why, Mark? You think they're doing so much business. Why don't you raise the risk reward? You stupid. These lines represent the upper and lower bound of what I think this company is worth if they are operating on no cylinders down here or all cylinders up here. And yes, they were operating on all cylinders. That doesn't mean that you can't operate on more than your 8-cylinder engine cannot operate on 10 cylinders. Very rare that happens. So no, I'm not raising the risk reward lines off rip. Okay? And you see, sure enough, the stock keeps going up. And you go, see, I told you, Mark, stock went 30, you're an idiot. Oh yeah, well now it's 17, you're an idiot. Because who knows when to buy or sell. Maybe you got lucky and top ticked it. Cool. I'm happy for you. Like legitimately, seriously happy for you. But don't come breathing down my neck. I'm the expert here. I'm the multimillionaire. I'm the one making 7 figures a year because I know what I'm doing. You don't. And as a matter of fact, there's your proof because the stock came right back down into my channel. So where are we at now? Easy. We got Colossus 2. Monster. I mean, TSSI got all this play, all this movement, right? Most of this because of Colossus 1, for which they did about, I'd say, close to 150,000 GPUs. Either remember that number or write it down. 150,000 GPUs is what caused this. Colossus 2 is already up to 500,000 GPUs. My information says that in July, the first month of TSSI's current quarter, which hasn't been announced, of course, it's the current quarter, Colossus 2 received 500,000 GPUs worth of NVIDIA servers. The question that we all have to ask now is, who did the integration? Because if TSSI did all that integration, bro, this stock probably goes to 40, even though I'm still not going to change my risk reward lines because they won't be able to repeat that quarter after quarter, year after year. But people are going to get hype because the amount of EPS they'll garner from doing that much business, listen, I'll buy and own the stock above this line. If I have proof, if I'm about to tell you that they got 100% of XAI Colossus 2, then you could bet that I've already backed up the truck on this stock. Okay? But I'm not going to tell you that. So we can already eliminate that. They do not have 100% of Colossus 2. Along the way, while I've been trying to figure out, and I have in recent weeks told you that I used to live in Franklin, Massachusetts. Who the F cares, Money Mark? Who cares where you used to live? Well, Dell does, because Dell has a facility in Franklin, Massachusetts, where I used to live. I happen to still know people in Franklin, Massachusetts. Some very close people to me. So I get to find all kinds of information. I can send people there. I got people who know people who work there. Okay? Here's the thing, though. I wasn't worried about Dell's Franklin, Massachusetts facility. I'm worried about Supermicro, because Supermicro has set up shop near Memphis, if not in Memphis, right near Colossus 2. So off rip, we know that Supermicro has at least some of Colossus 2. Write it down. This is a puzzle that we're unfolding here, right? But there's no way they have 100% of Colossus 2. How do I know? Because they issued crappy guidance on their call. SMCI, you see right there? That's crappy guidance. They definitely do not have 100% of Colossus 2. So what the F, guys? What's going on here? Who's doing Colossus 2? The two companies closest to Colossus 2 are SMCI and TSSI, right? Dell has this facility in Franklin, Massachusetts that doesn't seem to be doing much the last several quarters while TSSI has been going through the roof. So what the F, guys? Let's keep going down the rat hole. Let's figure it out. I'm going to give you the, right? This is the bombshell coming up. This is TSSI. 219 associated members. That's up a little bit. But it's not up a lot. Okay? So that's a little bit of a problem. I was looking at that. I'm like, why isn't this number up higher if Colossus 2 just took possession of 500,000 GPUs worth of servers? Why isn't this number up higher? Okay? And then I see this. Do you know what this is? This is a picture of a buttload of NVIDIA AI racks being integrated. I recognize this coloring. It's so funny too because it's the same color as the mascot for the town in which this facility resides. The name of the town is Franklin, Massachusetts. Dell Dell has been spending months retrofitting, rebuilding, renovating, upgrading its Franklin, Mass facility to process AI servers, to integrate AI servers, to effectively become a stronger competitor to their partner, TSSI. Now, that's not a big problem or a big shock because, I mean, I expected that Franklin would be doing some of this work, okay? So we're not, right? We're getting good news, we're getting bad news. Colossus, 500,000 chips. Dell, processing AI servers. We got to continue down the rat hole because how many AI servers can Franklin, Mass really produce? Because 500,000 is a lot. In fact, my estimates were that TSSI, before they got into their new facility, could process about 80,000 racks a quarter. 80,000. Okay? So how big can Franklin, Mass be? Because Colossus 2, 500,000 GPUs. Not 80,000, 500,000. Okay? That's 6 times more than TSSI's old facility. No wonder TSSI needed to double their facility because of all this demand that's coming out on Blackwell, right? So TSSI is going to be to the moon. Not so fast. Because 500,000 GPUs. I looked into the Franklin, Mass facility. The Franklin, Mass facility is 7 times bigger than TSSI's old facility. It's 3.5 times bigger than TSSI's new facility. It is capable, by my math, okay, no inside information, just multiple sources, multiple methodologies. This is what I do. I think this facility can process at least 500,000 GPUs per quarter, which just by chance is 100% of what Colossus 2 took on in July. And unless we see that continue in August and September, and I don't think we will, because Colossus 2 wants to get to 1 million by the end of the year, if they're lucky. So the pace is more than likely going to slow down dramatically. Dell can do most of the work. So why do they have a partnership with TSSI? Well, this is what I've been talking about for a long time, folks. Even while I was bullish. Because this is the kind of company Dell is. Okay? I covered Dell back in the day. I'm talking, oh yeah, it doesn't go back this far because they went private. I was an analyst helping to cover Dell in 1994. 95, 96, 97, until 1998 when I went to work for AMR Research, which got acquired by Gartner, ticker symbol IT. Okay? And the greatest thing that everybody said about Dell is that they were the most efficient company in technology. They would collect money before they even bought parts for the products that they were shipping out. They would never need to raise money because their customers were funding them in advance for products that they didn't even buy parts for yet. This is a company that if you're a salesperson and you make your quarter after quarter after quarter, if Dell has too much business to process for a few quarters, they might tell you, hey dude, you need to go on an extended vacation, go away for a couple months, unpaid. We're not going to pay you. You're not fired. It's a voluntary sabbatical. We'll fire you if you don't take it. And for the next couple months, you're not going to get paid. And then we'll call you, come back, and you do your great job again, and we're going to pay you great again. You love this job. You get paid great for this job. But every once in a while, you got to go away. Because we want to make the maximum amount of EPS. That's what Dell does. So where does that leave TSSI? Okay? It leaves them exactly where I expected them to be. Dell taking on as much of the baseline business as they can, right? Watch. Let's say this is the demand that Dell expects, okay? This shaded area you're going to see is how they are going to have their facilities and grow their facilities steadily to make sure that those facilities are always busy so that they can make maximum profit. The rest of it, all that volatile crap up there, that goes to their partner TSSI. If you don't think that makes sense, and by the way, I don't hate TSSI. I'm not a bear on TSSI. Remember, I was their biggest bull. Okay? I love those guys. I love the company. I think Daryl's a great guy. I think Dan's a great guy. But I have to tell the truth. Okay? So I'm not here to torpedo the stock, or I'm not short the stock. I'm not short the stock. Right? Just to keep it a buck here. Let me show you something. What I just told you might explain why, right, you have the volatility in their quarters, which we have seen. Taking a little minute to come up. There it is, right? Zoom in. Look at this, folks. Look at these quarters. 6, 14, 8, 24, 15, 12, 70, 50, 100, 44. What's that all about? Looks a lot like this, doesn't it? Okay? Now, before you freak out and say, TSSI is going out of business. Somebody said that. One person told me that. No, they're not going out of business. Don't freak out. Don't freak out. They got a 5-year deal with Dell. Dell's guaranteed them a certain amount of business for those 5 years. And Dell is probably going to give them a good chunk of that business unless Dell can make more profit themselves by keeping that business and still giving TSSI that free money, okay? So there's that. There's also the government business that Dell will probably continue to throw TSSI's way because the federal government does not like itemized invoices, because anything the government buys, they have to make a public so people can see it. So the government doesn't want to buy from Dell because Dell's going to itemize all the parts and components that went into what the government bought. So instead, what happens is Dell buys all those components and parts that the government wants, sends it to TSSI. TSSI assembles all those components and parts into a giant AI server rack, and then sends it back to Dell or the customer and an invoice that instead of all the components and parts on it says AI server rack. And now nobody gets to know what's inside that AI server rack. Okay? And for that, Dell gives TSSI this business where TSSI makes a few $1 million here and there. It's a nice little business for them. Right? Beautiful. So I think TSSI continues to get the government business. They get the overflow business. Dell has an incentive because of the money that they've guaranteed them for the next 5 years. Right? To give them that business. But the fact of the matter is, at this point in time, based on seeing what's happened to the Franklin, Mass facility, and by the way, I've got information as well, not inside information, it's just information that came my way, that the COO of TSSI was asked several weeks, if not months ago, to travel to Franklin, Massachusetts to talk to them about why they're so efficient in how they do what they do in Texas. Call me crazy, but if Colonel Sanders gives me the 11 herbs and spices, can I not make Kentucky Fried Chicken? I'm willing to answer any questions about this. Put them in the queue, okay? But this is the kind of research I do. I call it investigative journalism, okay? Finding things that nobody else does, because when I do, I can make tons of money. In this case, once in a while, especially when it's something like this, negative, I want to make sure that people know that I am not short the stock. To my knowledge, nobody I know is short the stock. I hope, right, that anybody that was involved in helping me gather this information didn't short the stock. I can't guarantee that. But to my knowledge, because I want to keep everything a buck. I did this with Movie Pass. I won't do this with everything. Okay? Every once in a while, though, when it's negative, just so the company knows, Daryl, Dan, no, I did not short the hell out of your stock to put out this information. I put out this information because it's the truth. And I'm not going to make money on the short side of this because I want everybody to know I'm keeping it a buck. I'm not trying to torpedo a stock for me or anybody else. Okay? So let's see. Anything else that I missed on here? And by the way, now that you know this information, you can go out and verify it. Okay? That's the funny thing. Once you have information, you could actually, like, the internet's a big place. It's like, to get this information, it's like finding a needle in a haystack. But once I tell you what the needle looks like, it becomes a lot easier for you to find it. So you might find YouTube videos of this facility. You might find information on the internet. You might ask AI if Dell's Franklin, Mass facility is producing AI racks for XAI. I did, and it knew. But if I didn't know to ask that question, if you didn't know about Dell's Franklin, Mass facility, if you didn't think that there was some reason that you should ask AI if Franklin, Mass is producing racks for Colossus 2, you wouldn't ask and you wouldn't find out. Once I found all this out, I started trying to verify the information. So I went onto YouTube, I went into Google, I went into my AI apps, and I was like, holy crap, this information has been available for anybody to find for probably 2 months. And it just happened to be me that found it. Because that's what I do. All right? Let's go to Q&A. I don't think there's anything else here. Oh, yeah. The last thing I'll say, I was doing I want to make sure. So I'm like, but this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense because Franklin, Mass is so far away from Memphis. So I asked AI, doesn't TSSI have a huge advantage in terms of proximity to Memphis? Well, not really. AI thinks that it has a moderate to high advantage. I don't. Because of the details it gave. I didn't realize that Round Rock, Texas is about 600 miles away from Memphis. 600. That's not close. Okay? And Franklin is 1,300. About double. Okay? It's only an extra 10 hours driving. It's a guy in a truck. You rent the truck, you hire the guy, and he has to drive an extra 10 hours for millions upon millions of dollars worth of, let's see right now. How many pounds can a typical 18-wheeler carry? An AI server rack is about 3,000 pounds. Okay? AI is about to tell me how many pounds an 18-wheeler can carry. 80,000 pounds. That's 27 racks. 27 racks costs, we're talking millions per rack. So you're talking a minimum of $60 million worth of racks. $60 million worth of racks. And the only expense associated with having that be done in Franklin versus Memphis is one guy driving an extra 10 hours. It's a little scary. All right, let's go to Q&A. I hope they don't hate me. I have to do this. I have to give out information that I find. I'm not going to hide it on anybody's behalf because I'm an unbiased source of information. I have to keep it a buck with y'all. I have to keep it a buck with myself. So when I find something great, I helped, right? When I broke the news about TSSI being in Colossus 1, I helped TSSI stock go from 2 to 20. I did not want to be Dan's or Daryl's hero for that. I'm just doing my job to society. And their stock going up's a side effect. Me doing my job for society in this case means telling y'all the truth. The same thing it always is. And so hopefully they don't think I'm a villain, just like I hope they didn't think I was a hero before. I'm just doing my job. And if I find information that goes to the contrary, or if they call me up, Dan, call me up. If I'm wrong, if I'm off base on this, let me know and I will, and show me how I'm wrong, and I'll come back next Friday and tell everybody I was wrong. Okay? But in the meantime, I was wondering, until I found this information, I was wondering why you weren't bullish on your earnings call. You weren't bullish. If you did all that work in July for XAI, and it is now August, why on your earnings call did you not say our quarter's off to a great start? Maybe because it's not. Why then, if you're doing Colossus 2 with all those GPUs, and your stock should go to 40, if that's the case, why did you sell $58 million worth of your stock for 17? $58 million worth of your... Do you know what the market cap of this stock is? TSSI stock. The market cap on this stock is $405 million. 58 million is 14% of the company. If you were the CEO, would you give 15% of your company away for 17 bucks, knowing that the stock should probably go to 40? This is what was going through my mind. But unlike most investors, I don't come out and say, look, they raised money, it's bearish. Look, because it wasn't necessarily bearish. They didn't need the money. I was like, maybe makes sense. Gives them a cash cushion. They got some debt that they put together for this facility. I wouldn't do it, but I won't hold it against them. But I'm going to keep it in my mind. The quarter, the earnings call, was not bullish. Go re-listen to it. If you didn't listen to it once, shame on you. Okay? Read the transcript. It wasn't bullish. Like, they weren't pounding their chest. Yes, they were optimistic. But when they asked, are you the first place that Dell will go when they need to integrate servers, that a customer will go when they need server integration, Daryl's response was, we're trying to be. When I heard that, I was like, what the hell? Come on, bro. And now it kind of all makes sense. We'll see. I would love to get a response from the company. Hopefully they're not mad at me. This is just information, okay? I'm not bullish or bearish on this company or stock. I love those guys. I feel bad having to give this out. Let's see what we have in the Q&A. I'm looking for question marks. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, because that's what keeps me coming back and giving you information like this. Okay? I'm looking for question marks. If I skip your question, put it back in the queue with a question mark. All right? Let's see here. Would love to hear your thoughts on the earnings, of course. That was a legitimate question, by the way. You had to know that I was going to talk about IDN and ITMSF's earnings because I cover those stocks, because they are official picks. So it's kind of a dumb question, but it's a legit question because you didn't say anything new on IDN or ITM. At least you knew there was some news that needed to be analyzed. That's what I'm here to do. Analyze things that we haven't analyzed yet. MBJ, you just keep getting better, bro. Good job. Let's see. From the Intermap call. Yeah, I talked about that already. Oh, what if they miss? Oh, and yeah, I don't care if they miss. As long as they get the Indonesian contract, as long as Intermap gets phase 2 of Indonesia, which they should, because, bro, ITMSF, for years, for this many years, okay, I've known this company for this long and waited this long until here to make it an official pick. Okay? And the reason is they weren't ready. They weren't ready. They weren't ready. They were making all these investments. You know, from here to here is 14 and a half years. 14 and a half years of the stock going down, down, down in a business that nobody else wanted to be in. What happens when nobody else wants to be in the business? You get 14 years of experience that nobody else has. So then suddenly when the world wants what you have, you're the only one that can give it. And everybody else needs years to catch up. Not 14, they can catch up within a few years, but by then it's too late. They might have Indonesia, Malaysia, Saudi Arabia. They're definitely getting more business from the United States of America. I can guarantee you that. Bullet through the hand is my penalty. Guaranteed. Okay? This world needs more of what Intermap has. They're going to get more business. And as long as they don't lose the Indonesian deal, which we don't know, that's the risk, right? But I've incorporated that into my analysis. This stock has much more upside ahead. Yes, it looks like it's in the middle of the risk-reward channel, but it's not, because this is a logarithmic scale. The stock is currently at 2, but the top of the channel is at 10. So it's really only like 20% up the channel if we don't use log. Ready? Watch. Right? That's a linear scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is where we are in the risk-reward channel from an arithmetic perspective. And that's something, this might be the only time that you want to look at these charts kind of arithmetically. You can do this in your head, right? Is when you're looking at how far do we still have to go from the zero that the stock was effectively, right? Because the stock was what, 20 cents? 30 cents, and now it's $2. When you're going from 30 cents to 10 bucks, potentially, 30 cents is really zero. And from zero, it's only at 2, on the way to potentially 10. So be careful when you're reading these risk-reward charts and understanding where we fit in here. Here we go. Question marks, question marks. I will be reading all the comments later. So those of you, if you trolled me or pimped your own stock and want to continue to be able to ask me questions on this show, go in and delete your question, your comment, okay? Because after the show, I'm going to go look through them all. Anything I don't like, you're gone. And you'll never be able to ask me a question again. You might want to ask me a question at some point in the future because I'm one of the few people that can help you become a multimillionaire. I have a lot more friends than enemies, my friend. A lot more. Let's see what we got here. Drone shield chart. There you go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm looking for question marks. Following up on a community question, any intel from Gatekeeper from the conference this week in New York? Any reason they haven't PR'd the big news you could determine? Yeah, so from what I've determined, right, my best guess is that they already PR'd being the selected vendor for New York. So you had the selection, then you get the ratification, and then you get the contract. It's already 4 o'clock. Holy shit. So you get the selection, the ratification, and then the contract. They got the selection. That was major news. I broke the news. They were forced, as a result of that, to press release it. Okay? From what I understand, they don't see the ratification as being big enough news that they have to announce it. But they do know that once the contract is official, that they'll have to announce it. So my best guess is that they just didn't see this news as being material enough to fall under the legal requirements to announce it. No big deal from my perspective. It doesn't change anything. Okay? Except that there's some people out there that might be sad. I'm going to buy more because they might put out a press release. Good. That's dumb to me. I don't play those games. I became a multimillionaire making multi-millions per year, not playing those games. Learn something from a 1%er and maybe you'll stop being a 99%er. Where's the TSSI thing? I love the newbies that came in here. This is not a typical show, my friends. Curious, does your risk reward chart for Intermap include numbers for deferred tax assets? Oh my God, Alex. That's okay. It's okay. I've never seen you ask a question before. Let me answer the question for the millionth time. When I build a risk reward chart, it incorporates everything I know. Everything. And I am one of the people on this planet, even amongst professionals, that highly value NOLs, net operating loss carry forwards, because my specialty is finding companies that are not profitable today, poised to be highly profitable in the future, like this TPCS. Minus, 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 minus. I see them becoming positive. Nobody sees it coming. When nobody sees a money-losing company becoming profitable, you make a boatload of cash because nobody sees it coming. And that's why I decided to make my specialty. Okay? And as a result of this, when a company that's been losing money becomes profitable, it unlocks the value of the NOLs. And so, yes, of course, I incorporate that into my analysis. All right? Do investment bankers considering a green shoe have insider information? Ask AI. I don't know the answer to that question. It's a great question, though. I don't think so, to be honest. Not any more than what they give out. But look it up. Got any thoughts on NBIS? Ugh, there we go again. And you know anything about this? That's not a specific question. Can you imagine, Alan? Can you imagine everybody who's watching this show saying, Mark, what do you think about Dell? Mark, what do you think about IBM? Mark, what do you think about... That's what you just did. And everybody knew I would call you a dummy. And you still didn't delete the question. Mark, you keep telling us to use AI. Do you use AI to help you scan for companies' references in municipal reports like Gatekeeper's MTA monthly report? Sure, why not? Listen, I'm trying to find information, Jack. I'm going to look under every rock. I'm going to contact everybody I know. I'm going to take rides to places people wouldn't ride to. I'm going to sit in a parking lot and wait for employees to come out and follow them to their local bar, buy them a drink even, and see what they have to say. I don't want insider information, but I want information. And AI has more information than arguably anyone or anything on the planet. So of course, I pay for the premium version of AI. I use at least 3 different AIs at present. At least. Why would TSSI raise after rather than pre-earnings? You have to announce earnings before you do a raise. You can do a raise on the same day as you announce earnings, but you have to announce the earnings first. You cannot be that close. Within about a 2-week window of earnings, you cannot do a raise. Risk reward chart from MOB. There is no risk reward chart for MOB. There's a chart for MOB, but I have not built a risk reward chart for MOB. We're going to keep going fast. I won't explain why. What capacity are you assuming for Tecogen can do with their current capacity? Yeah, I mean, that's public information, Jimmy Ocean, so go look it up. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I incorporated it into my analysis, and suffice it to say that for Tecogen to do the numbers in my model, they're going to have to expand their capacity even further. Okay? They don't have enough capacity to meet my model. So if somebody goes, Mark, they can't do 100 million because they don't have that much capacity. I'll say, you stupid. They can just add more capacity. Evolve chart. Oh yeah, Evolve. I didn't talk about this, didn't have time. Look at that thing of beauty. Former official pick of yours truly. I kept the colored lines in there for those of you, even after I took it off the official list. I didn't take it off the official list because I didn't like the company. This is a closet stock, I told y'all. I said you can continue to use this chart as a guide to buy Evolve in your own account, even though it's not an official pick in my portfolio anymore. And look at this. Boom. Green line. 2. Now 8. 4-bagger for those following the rules, reading my article and watching my video. Right? Reading my article, watching my video. This is how you become a millionaire. You lazy mother effers out there who just come in for the information, looking at the chart. I'm going to gamble, gamble, gamble. I'm having a nice life gambling. I'm having a nice life being a multimillionaire. On my way to being a billionaire. Any chance to add size of a 1-point move on your chart so following the 10-point rules get easier? Now, listen. MBJ, I do what I do. I'm not gonna, it's hard enough. Listen, I gotta take 30 years of knowledge, 10 years where I was working full time and then spending another full time on top of that learning how to do this stuff. 10 years full time to learn what I do. And I have to somehow make it all make sense for someone who hasn't even taken a finance course. No offense. That's not a problem, right? If you're a mechanic, you deserve to become a millionaire just like somebody who went to college for finance. And I have to figure out how to help that mechanic become a millionaire. And I'm doing it the best I can. I'm not going to tweak it. Next. What do you think the implications are for Quip buyout given the newest acquisition news? I think they are continuing to grasp at straws. I think these guys are idiots and they're trying their hardest to not get taken under by the activists. They will fail. They're going to fail. Yeah. Intermap said that phase 2 has a 15% upfront payment of $30 million. Will that count towards this year's revenue? No, I do not believe so, Shay. It's a great question, but in my mind, they recognize revenue upon delivery of services. So if they get paid up front, no, that doesn't count as actually delivering the services. Okay? Great question. Great question. You can even ask, I would ask their IR department and AI for that matter about that, because it's kind of a detailed rev rec question, revenue recognition question. Chart for Alarum. There it is. I turned the lines back to white from colored. I don't like this company. I don't like this company. We made some good money off of it. You saw what happened there. We made some great money off this company when it gave us an opportunity. Okay, it gave us a good opportunity. We had, what is his name? Louis Navalier pumped the stock. I didn't pump the stock. Louis Navalier did though, and we made some great money off of that pump. Great, and then we got out here on this gap down. It was bad news, right? And when I analyzed the bad news, I reassessed my decision to have this be an official pick. There were people out there, what's his name? Jonah. Okay? That well-known internet analyst. Sorry. Like, he seems like a great guy. I'd love to have lunch with him and all that. But, bro, to be honest, you're not what I consider to be a professional stock analyst. I envy your following. I envy your success. Okay? But I remember him coming out and saying, I don't know why the stock's down so much on a slight miss. Well, stupid, because it's not a slight miss. Yes, it's a $100,000 miss compared to Wall Street estimates. But Wall Street's estimates, Wall Street didn't know what they were talking about. They were dumb. They were stupid. They didn't know what they were talking about. When I saw that 100,000 miss, I'm like, this might as well be a $2 million miss. And I got people out. And guess what happened next? This is the difference between the people on the internet giving you picks, and Wall Street analysts, and me. Because even Wall Street analysts aren't that good. A great Wall Street analyst, most great Wall Street analysts are retired multimillionaires. Okay? Most of Wall Street analysts have to work, have to put on a three-piece suit, go to work every day, write reports. I don't have to do any of that stuff because I was that good. When you're that good, you make so much money that you don't have to do it anymore after a certain period of time, unless you absolutely love it. And frankly, I don't know what anybody would love, having to wake up at 6 in the morning, put on a three-piece suit, and go into Manhattan through all that traffic and stuff, and fly 3 days a week to meet clients and all that stuff. Unless you have to, because you're not that good. Let's see. Don't forget about the Toronto deal with Gatekeeper. Yes, we've talked about that before. They are saying second shift being put on the new facility. Dan, please elaborate. Which company are you talking about? Other sites saying AMD in a major deal with TSSI and TSSI putting second shift. Okay, Dan, that's good information. And we have to find out if it's true that TSSI is putting on a second shift, because we don't have evidence of that. You saw the LinkedIn, right? Like, where are all the employees? They haven't hired these employees unless they found a way to mask it. In which case they could have. It could have. All right? Part of the reason I put this information out there is so that it's out there, and now we can come closer to the exact truth. I just got everybody on this show closer to the exact truth. Now let's get even closer. So I appreciate your contribution here. The only thing I would say, the second shift information, beautiful. We want validation of that. We want to verify that they're putting on a second shift. I haven't seen evidence of it, but it doesn't mean it's not true. But the AMD, so what? Dell makes AMD servers. That doesn't mean anything to me. Okay? Doesn't matter if it's NVIDIA or AMD. Dell makes both servers. I could give you the model number of the AMD AI servers that Dell makes within seconds. Just ask AI. Asking about eCore. Geithner, bro, anything eCore does is bearish to me. F eCore. I told y'all, until further notice, don't F with eCore. Why are you guys playing with eCore? You hear a rumor that this beautiful girl has an STD. And you're like, and there's no rubbers in the world. There's no condoms in the world. She has an STD. And you're like, maybe she doesn't. I'll take my chances. Why would you do that? You're the only guy in the world, in a world full of 1s, 2s, 5s, 7s, 9s, and 10s. In a world of 3 billion women and you, there are 300 million 10s. You can have 3 10s a day, and you will never scratch the surface. You won't even get through 1% of all the 10s in the world. Why play with fire? Don't have FOMO. Play with the 10s. That's goes in your notebook on how to become a millionaire. Do not have FOMO. Do not play with STDs. Garbage. Let's see. PPSI reported better than projected result, but the market seems skeptical. The market does not seem skeptical. That stock went berserk today. That's not skepticism. That's berserk. I haven't been able to do any work recently on PPSI, but look, the work that I did initially seems to be panning out. I haven't talked much about PPSI, but the risk-reward charts continue to pay dividends because you can continue to use this chart even though I don't talk about the company and it's continued to work. Look at that. $3 at the bottom of the risk reward line. The stock got as high as $5.60 today. That's almost 100% gain from where it hit the green line originally if you like PPSI. I have to catch up on I've been so busy, y'all, with AI and stuff like that I haven't had time to come back and catch up with PPSI. I have so many 10s to go out on dates on that this 10 has been sitting on the sidelines somewhere, so that I haven't really had a chance to catch up on her and make sure that she's still a 10. Maybe she gained some weight and stuff, you know. Sorry for the chauvinism, ladies, but this is a 99% male show. Let's keep going. Looking for question marks. Dan, unless you knew about the Franklin, Mass facility, to say that there's zero capacity available anywhere in the United States is BS. Okay? That part is BS. Let's validate, you know. In fact, bro, if you are the source of the second shift information, Dan, if you have information that you've gathered yourself from investigative journalism, hit me up on social media, on X or StockTwits, and I want to talk to you. I like to have good informants, but if you got this information from other people, don't contact me, okay? Because I'll block you, ban you, and then I'll ban you from this channel. But in the meantime, we have a nice relationship already because I like the contributions you're making here. If those contributions are from your personal first-hand information research, I want a closer relationship with you. Otherwise, this is a perfect relationship for us to have, and I appreciate the comments that you're making here. It's cool. Looking for question marks. Lots of commentary, lots of controversy. Mark, what are your thoughts on the stock offering with Lucent for TSSI? We talked about that already. Oh, the one thing though, Lucent is a new firm. It's a spinoff of Craig Hallam, if I remember right. I do, regardless of the timing and the amount of money that they just raised, which I felt was kind of questionable, I think it's highly questionable that they did this deal with one brand new firm. If you're going to raise $58 million, you should, my opinion, get like 3 analysts out of this. There should be 3 companies covering your stock as a result of a $58 million offering. Because you just gave so much commission to this one firm. They better come out with a $100 price target on your stock after you just gave them all that business. Bro, there's got to be some pissed off investment bankers out there that you gave them all this business and didn't spread that around. Plus, you get a better pricing when you spread it around. I thought that was a mistake. Sorry, Dan. I really have a lot of respect for you, but I don't know where that came from. I'd like to understand. Does this change your Q3, Q4 outlook from being strong? And does this information make their raise more bearish? The second part, yes. It makes it more ominous that they did a raise, but I do still think they're going to have a strong Q3 and Q4. Q3, I told you about the government business. Q3 is the government quarter. So many people have signed off to miss this great question. I still think they're going to have a great Q3. It's not going to be some outlandish bomb that I was thinking it might have been before the Dell information came in. I still think there's so much, like XAI is not the only AI customer for Dell. So even if Dell does all the XAI business, they still have all this overflow of other customers they need to service. Not to mention the government, and Q3 is the government. I think Q3 is going to be a great quarter for TSSI. Okay? So make sure if anybody goes running to TSSI and say, Mark blew you up, I'm keeping it a buck on both sides of the equation. Right? Just nobody asked me what I thought about what Q3 would look like, and it slipped my mind. I didn't have my notes. I had a lot of things going on, right? Now, I do think Q3 is going to be a strong quarter for them, and probably Q4 as well. Yes, I know the stock dropped 10%. I mean, I can't help it. I give out information. What the stock does is not my concern. Okay, I've had stocks go up 100% on something that I've said. Yeah. What can I tell you? Right? I could have made a lot of money off of this information by being shorting the options. It's option expiration day. Imagine, right? What happened to the stock? Now, this is going to tell you something right here. Look at this, right? Imagine the stock's at 17 and a quarter, right? I probably could have bought the 1750 puts today's for 50 cents. And the stock goes down to here. So those 50 cents, that 50 cents would have become about $1.75 based on the closing price, $1.70. I could have more than tripled my money in 1 hour and didn't. Why? Because I don't want people to think that I'm some kind of scumbag out here looking to blow up companies. I forewent that profitability, even though I have every right to take it, because that's not what I do. Okay? Sometimes look, I make enough money off of my picks to not make it off of something like this. Dan, what I would love is for you to take every single one of these every one of these comments that you've made, put them all together and just send me a DM. I'd like to have this all together. I can't read them all right now, and I don't want to go through all the Dan Moon comments later. I respect it. Regarding your preferred AI tools for research, I know you talk very positively about Perplexity. Any other tools? Yeah, Rob, you've missed the last couple shows because I announced probably 2-3 weeks ago that Grok, the new version of Grok running on Colossus, is so good that I canceled my premium Perplexity subscription to get a premium Grok subscription. I still use Perplexity. I use the free Perplexity for quick, easy AI searches. I like Perplexity better than Grok for quick, easy searches. But for in-depth analysis, like I provided you with today, Grok is the best right now for me. I love all these comments. TSSI is getting hit. TSSI is down 7%. TSSI is down 10%. No shit, Sherlock. Like, are you like breaking news to the world? But thanks for the comments. I mean, it helps the algorithm. Let's keep going here. Nick, thank you. Trucks can haul 40K of cargo. Love that. So it's half. 13 racks, not 27. It doesn't change the analysis, but I love that you came in here with that information. Love that. See? I didn't know. I'm not a truck expert. Truck expert comes in, adds value to the community. That's what this is all about. This is a big part of why I do this. Now I'm smarter. I'm smarter thanks to Nick. Thank you, Nick. We have an idea of how Mark uses the term bombshell. No, you don't, Static. I'll use bombshell for the next thing and it'll be bullish. You won't know. I don't want anybody to know what I'm gonna say is bearish or bullish before I say it. Bombshell is just a great, it gets people hyped up. What's going on? We got record attendance on this show. I got record followers on X. People now know who I am because I used the word bombshell. People flipped out over that word. Dan, yeah, this Dell question regarding 58 million, I clarified that. Hopefully you understand. I feel bad. It sounds like you have a big position and I just caused you to lose money today. But I do call TSSI's IR department, but there's only so much that they're going to tell me and there's so much that they won't. TSSI has an awesome IR firm. Awesome. But TSSI's IR firm works for TSSI. And TSSI tells TSSI's IR firm, Hayden IR, what they can and cannot say. And they don't tell me anything more or less than that. Okay? They've been helpful in providing information that TSSI is okay with me getting. But they're not value add. No offense, Brett. Okay? No offense, Hayden IR. For me to say that you're not value add. When I say that, these guys are highly responsive. They're very intelligent. They give great advice to their clients. I find it hard to believe that I didn't ask Brett because it's inappropriate, but I find it hard to believe that Brett would tell TSSI to do this whole deal with one firm and that firm at that. Okay? So they are very value add, but what I mean by value add is telling me something that the company doesn't want me to know. From that perspective, IR is not very helpful. even when I run something by them, they're really good with the poker face. I mean, these guys are really not helpful in helping me understand something that the company doesn't want me to know. It's a great question, though, Dan. I can tell you're a little riled up over this, rightfully so. But this is your first interaction with me, then hopefully you understand how, like, I'm talking to you respectfully, and the information I gave you is all real good. Go look it up. And if you find anything that counteracts what I've said, I'm going to be right back here next Friday and saying, listen, my man Dan set me straight on a few things that we validated and verified. Here's where I was wrong last week. Because I'm just here to tell the truth. I don't care if I'm right. I want to get it right. You become a millionaire not by being right in a debate. You become a millionaire by understanding at the end of the debate what the right answer is. I love being wrong in a debate. Doesn't matter. Because if I know at the end of the debate that I was wrong, then I know what the right answer is and I can make money off of that. That's all I care. I'm here for money. Some other people are giving me answers on the truck stuff. I love that. That picture you posted has been available on the internet for 8 months. That's false. Because I know exactly where I got that picture from, and it has not been available on the internet for 8 months. So stop effing with me, bro. Now you're starting to piss me off, because that's BS. Maybe you find send me the picture. Find me that picture from 8 months ago and send it to me. Stupid. You dumb. You sad you lost money today because your dumbass couldn't get the accurate information that I provide? Stupid. Where do you get the idea that picture was posted 8 months ago? Dumbass. Now F you. I don't want to hear from you if this is the way you're going to be. Seriously, you better apologize for that comment or send me the picture. Or you're gone. I don't care. You go from a friend of mine to a foe. And then you'll be gone. I don't care. I got plenty of foes. Trust me. 10,000 followers. If only 1%, if you're one of the 1% that don't like me, that's 100 people just like you. And you can all go in a room and eat shit. Cap. That was cap. Lies. I know exactly where I got that picture from, and it wasn't from something 8 months ago. Dumbass. And there you go, ridiculous theory. That's it. F you. Hide user from this channel. You're gone. Boom. All your comments deleted. Nobody else is going to see it. You turned into a troll. And now you're gone. I feel bad for you. Okay? I feel bad for you. That you cannot fathom, cannot handle truth and make money off of truth. That you're so convicted to what you want to believe that you can't believe that somebody better than you, a better analyst than you, someone more successful than you, more truthful than you, somebody that doesn't need to use lies in a comment, somebody that was loved by his mom and dad more than you, somebody that gets love in his life, unlike you, that needs to cast aspirations on somebody, to call that theory ridiculous. Bro, I showed you all the proof. There was nothing ridiculous about that at all. And you know what that means? It means one thing. That you are a sad person that has sadness in his life, that doesn't have enough love and confidence in himself to accept truth. And that's why you're going to get my prayers. I hope God will cure you of whatever is wrong with you in your heart and soul. I hope in the next life, mommy and daddy give you proper love. But until then, sayonara, see you in that next life. Dumbass. Stupid. Yeah, Tomash. Dan Moon, do you work for TSSI? Right, exactly. Hey, man. And by the way, I'm not fazed by this at all. It's just everybody loves my reactions, right? So I had, somebody had to get the dummy treatment. And what a twist! What a crazy twist that it ended up being somebody that was actually being helpful. This show is epic. We're at an hour and a half. Still have 300 people in here. My wife loves it. Don't you love that I'm here an extra hour and a half after 2 hours, Monk? I'm so dead. Let's see what we got. Let's finish this off, y'all. Oh my God, we have so many questions and comments. This is what I'm going to do. Damn. Rapid fire. Let's go rapid fire. Can I confirm that Gatekeeper presented at the conference? They didn't present. They had one-on-ones. Next. Summary of my point on TSSI. Watch the replay. Is it a good place to enter ITMSF? Watch my videos on my instruction manual videos. I don't answer that question. With the Franklin news in mind, do you think the guaranteed minimums on rack integration that appear to equate to around 7.5 million of systems integration revenue serve as the best expectations for the future? Kyle, yeah, I do. That's a great question. I do believe that that could be the baseline minimum for them in the future. That's a legitimate thing. Now that earnings are out, will Forager reopen their offer for Quip? Yes, probably. Outside of the federal budget cycle, are you modeling TSSI procurement business? How are you? You can't. It's so unpredictable. Question mark, question mark. Can I buy you some TSSI merch? Yes. Listen, I love the company. I love those guys. I feel bad to have to do this, but this is my job. They do their job, I do mine. I really honestly feel bad putting out this information. And I was very to tell you that I am not short the stock, to tell you that I did not tell anybody to short the stock, to tell you that to my knowledge nobody short the stock. That's because now this is evidence, proof. I wouldn't say those things. I didn't have to say those things. I could say that I'm short, or I could not say that I'm short, but I'm specifically telling you that I'm not because I'm not. Right? But I can't lie about that. That would be illegal. What do you think of, the Curie call? That's a good question. God damn it. Why did you have to ask a question like this? This, good quarter. I'm not surprised that the stock is, they did a raise or something like that. My head's a little jumbled right now because we're 2.5 hours of this, but I've been waiting for the bottom of this channel. I'm still waiting for the bottom of this channel. There's still another 50 cents of juice left in this decline. But I think this is a good company. It's a good stock, and stay tuned. You feel me? This stock gets down to 350, and I'm going to be out here talking about it. That's another 50 cents from here. What else we got? You mentioned Gatekeeper needed to PR that large. I already talked about that. That was my impression. Apparently, they disagree. Let's see. Do you talk to yourself in the mirror every morning? Is that me? Was that directed at me, Frank? Or somebody else? It's all good either way. I can take it. SNES chart. There you go. The reaction to the second quarter seemed overdone. Where do you expect the stock to trade going forward? You have to tell me what the stock you're talking about. And it doesn't matter either way because I don't know where to expect the stock, any stock, to trade going forward. Only God knows where to expect the stock to trade going forward. Okay? Let's see. Question marks, question marks. I'll read the comments later. I'm sure they're entertaining. What a show, huh? I think we're just about done. No more question marks in the queue. What a show, y'all. I mean, what can I tell you? This is what I do. Like it, love it or hate it. I'm here to tell you the truth every week. I'm here to give you the information that I find every week. I'm here to be better than every effing analyst on the planet every week. I'm here to teach you what the difference is between a good analyst and everybody else. I'm not saying I'm the best. I'm not. I've got close friends that are better analysts than me. Okay? but we're all on the same tier. I'm not going to call it God tier. I'm going to call it professional tier. A Wall Street analyst is not automatically professional tier, by the way. You can work for Goldman Sachs and not qualify for what I call professional tier. All right? I'm here to teach you what professional tier research is, because literally 99.9% of what you consume every week is not professional tier. And why should you settle for less? You're trying to become a millionaire. You're trying to optimize your portfolio. You're trying to make the most money possible in the greatest risk-reward opportunities that exist. And that's not going to happen. You are not going to optimize that unless you are dealing with professional tier analysts. I'm not the only one. I'm not telling you only listen to Money Mark. No. But I am telling you to only listen to professionals. Shit, if you find so many professional level analysts that you don't have time to listen to me, that's fine. I'm happy for you. That's all I care about. One day you might send me an email and say, Mark, I haven't watched your show in 3 years because I haven't had time because I found so many more people better than you. But I became a multimillionaire because I threw out all the garbage analysts and only stuck to these 10 guys, and you were number 11 on my list and became a multimillionaire. Thank you for the advice, because low-key you made me a multimillionaire. That's fine. That's what I want. That makes my hair, look at this. Just telling that false fantasy story makes my hair stand on end. That's what I do it for. So give me that thumbs up. Let everybody know that somebody's here that cares about you. Okay? We got one more question in the queue here. Who is the AI hyperscaler for the second order for Sonoma test systems from Air? I don't know the answer to that question. And with that, let me see. Oh, okay. Never mind. That's it. Y'all having fun over there. Have a great weekend. Y'all know what it is. It's Money Mark. It's Stock Talk Live. Catch y'all next week. Ugh.